Good morning, everybody. I'm Larry Weissoon. If you enjoy real-world hunting and fishing talk, you're really going to enjoy listening to my good friend, Luke Clayton, and his guest for the next hour.
This is David Fox, and welcome to Outdoors with Luke Clayton and Friends. Luke has been a recognized outdoors writer for the past 3 decades and writes for a host of outdoor publications. Luke pens a weekly newspaper outdoors column that appears in over 40 Texas newspapers. Luke is on the pro staff of Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything air gun related. Smokin Tex electric smokers and AGM Global Vision, maker of an awesome line of thermal hunting scopes and spotters. Feel free to contact Luke through his website, catfishradio.org. Now let's join Luke and his guests for this week's show.
Well, thank you guys for that introduction, and Mr. Larry Weissoon is right here. He's here every week. He's been here every week for the past 18 and a half years. Larry, I really appreciate you spending some time with us.
Oh, my gosh, Luke, this is one of my favorite things that I've ever had the opportunity to do, and to be together for 18 years. That's pretty special when you think about it.
My gosh, I mean, you know, some kind of is there any kind of award? You know, I'm all about.
Well, there's a huge award as far as I'm concerned in being able to do this with you. So, but, we got to thank a lot of folks. We need to particularly thank the stations out there and the people that listen to us.
Yes. How
much we truly, truly appreciate them, but also sponsors such as Hornady, Accurate, Diddley, Dependable, Great Ammunition, Taurus, makes the Raging Hunter handguns that I use, and the Rossi lever action rifles, VINEYARDMAX, which makes the VINEYARDMAX bait and the feeders, and also they distribute my Larry Weissoon whitetail knives as well too. And Mossberg, of course, made here in Texas, to make their rifles and shotguns down close to Eagle Pass, down along the border, and Stealth Vision over at Crockett, Texas. A lot of those scopes, they come in there and they totally redo them right there. So when you get right down to it, they're pretty much Texas built as well too. And then, of course, we've been involved with DSC for so many years, and we need to mention very quickly that, hey, we're not that far away from the July 17th to 19th summer show that we've got coming up at the Gaylord, Texan, actually, there in Grapevine, Texas. Mm-hmm. So I want to invite everybody out there, and I know it's going to be an absolutely great time and a chance to sit down and visit. And it's going to be kind of like a mini DSC convention that we've had in the past. So really looking forward to seeing a lot of folks out there. But you and I have just gotten back from some great trips. We got some others coming up, and let's talk a little bit about the one that we just kind of got off of, Lou.
You bet. Well, we had another what we jokingly call our outdoor extravaganzas, you know, and that can be something simple or it can be something, you know, maybe a little bit more entailed, traveling somewhere. Exactly. But these were kind of close to home. We decided, folks, we wanted to go fishing. We had a trip planned with Bill Carey. Chris is Bill's son. He's been guiding for a quarter of a century up there at Texoma. But during that period, the Red River had got out of it's flooded, and really, there's no secret. Texoma was a chocolate milkshake. It was just mud. You know, it was muddy. The people are still catching stripers on live shad, but we like to fish with Chris with artificial baits and topwater. So that was in the plans. Well, Chris, you know, decided to make a little change over to Lake Cooper, or Cooper Lake. That's the official name of it. It's up not far from Sulphur Springs, right off the Sulphur River. So that was our goal, to get there, which we did. We caught a bunch of big white bass, sand bass. Fishing's good right there, but that was just something to occupy his clients for a brief period till the lake cleared back up, Larry. You know, so we had a big time with Chris Carey. Bill came by. We had a fish fry. We just had a fun day catching a bunch of white bass. But you know, before that, our friend Jeff Rice, who puts our show together, A Sportsman's Life, we went to the Buck and Bass Ranch, his place up near, not far from Cooper, near Sulphur Springs, not far from Lake Fork. And we actually caught some catfish out of the creek there, didn't we, Larry?
We did. I'll tell you what, Jeff's place is just unbelievable when you get right down to it. You talk about a gamey place with the proximity to Lake Fork and that creek that he has there. So there's all kinds of fishing to be had. And, there's some pretty darn decent deer in there. And those bucks are starting to look pretty darn good all throughout that country. We've had kind of range at the right time, which made a lot of great difference for what the antlers are going to look like this year, and even with the fawn crops this year as well too. A lot of places we've got some rains that produced vegetation on the ground, and that ground vegetation not only serves as food for those does and the bucks that are coming on strong right now, but it provides cover for those fawns as well too, and with that being the case too, a lot of places we had a pretty good little grasshopper hatch, which means where we still have quail, we'll have a pretty good quail crop, and of course the turkeys as well too. So all that's kind of played into the different things. But this time of the year too, we've talked about this in the past a little bit, to maintain those kind of crops that we've had are coming on as far as wildlife is concerned. One of the things that we were able to do out at Jeff's is to work a little bit on the coon population. And, to me, people don't realize what predators coons can be. And do we want coons? Absolutely. Do we need as many as we have? In most instances, that answer is no. And so that was part of our game plan as well, too, there at Jeff's, is try to produce a predator population. And that's something almost anybody needs to think about, regardless of where their property is.
That's right, Larry. Close to my home here, I've got a couple of feeders that I keep going year-round for hogs, mostly. So I can go out and shoot a hog when I want to, and usually that's the case. But raccoons, man, I think the last time I was out, which was a couple of weeks ago at night with my thermal AGM, global thermal scope on my rifle. I had that little 223, that CVA VH varmint hunter, and that's what I used to knock those hogs out with and put them in the freezer. But I counted 8 raccoons. That's at one time, and then they'll come in and eat and they'll leave. But total, I don't know if some of them were the same raccoons or not, but honestly, somewhere around 15 coons under that feeder in the course of a couple of hours. Some of them could have been return visitors. I don't know, but
well, you're right. We've been visiting with Sam Gould up in Virginia, or West Virginia, every once in a while, and I know up there he's been doing a pretty darn good predator control program. And one of the things that up there, those coons are big, and those coons, a lot of times, they will even be predators as far as the deer are concerned. I remember years ago when I lived in Abilene, we had a piece of property where the gentleman just forever was having problems with predation on kid goats. And I went in there and I shot 2 coons one year, and both those coons weighed about 25 pounds. Now, that's a huge coon.
Yes, it
when
is.
You get right down to it for Texas. But they were working not only on those kid goats, killing those kid goats, they were doing the same thing with white-tailed fawns. So don't overlook that coon. Oh, man, they're really cool and they look pretty. But at the same time, they can be very efficient predators, if you will, on different species. And so it doesn't hurt to take that coon population down a little bit every once in a while.
I think it's key. The Parks and Wildlife and I think the Wild Turkey Federation combined stocked Rios, where I live in Kaufman County, southeast of Dallas, about 6 or 7 years ago. And I don't know how these turkeys they seem to we watch them pretty close, especially around my buddy Kenneth Shepard's place, and that they hatch every year. They seem to be doing well, but with the hogs and the coons, I'm amazed at how they can survive those turkeys like they are. And we're on a program now the turkeys are holding their own right now, but we're on a program to reduce 15 raccoons at a feeder every night, and it's just, it makes sense, to keep keep them in check. They've got to be doing some damage, for sure.
Oh, there's no question that they are, and particularly at certain times of the year and in certain places as well too. The other good thing that's going on right now, I guess, as far as predators concerned, I was on a property. Well, actually, when we were on the Choctaw not very long ago, I was amazed at the number of cottontails that we saw.
Yeah,
that will help a little bit as far as taking the pressure off some of the extent of like the whitetail fawns. But they too are doing a predator control program right now. You don't want to get rid of all the predators.
Oh no,
they do have their place, but they need to be managed just like we do whitetail deer. Or if you have cattle in a piece of property, you can't just let the cattle just stay there and just reproduce and never do anything with them, because they'll eat themselves out of house and home, destroy the habitat.
Yeah,
and so all that plays in, and when you get right down to it, the man is the ultimate predator. So it's up to us to be the manager as well too.
I've always thought I'll go online and member of several outdoor groups, and most everybody today that hunts and fishes spends some time online, and I see comments about coyotes. Well, almost like they were the devil incarnate here on Earth. I mean, that people despise coyotes. Well, a coyote is just doing what a coyote does. I mean, he was programmed to do what he does, and that's eat meat.
Right.
Now, I shoot every one I can, and I don't knock a dent in them. I know that.
No.
But if I have an opportunity to shoot a coyote, I will shoot him. But do I hate them? I mean, would I want them removed from the earth? No, we got to have them. They're in our ecosystem. But people do. They're even nicknamed fawn killers. Well, they do. They're tough on baby deer. We know that. But shoot one when you can. You're not going to get rid of all of them, and they're here to stay. I don't think there's any question about that, Larry.
No, they are. And to me, we just said, I keep coming back to this wildlife conservation thing. Conservation is the wise use of. And that means managing not only the habitat, but managing the animals that live off that habitat, and then the animals that live off those animals that live there, kind of thing. So to me, that it all comes down to the conservation, the wise use of, and managing not only the habitat, but also the prey species, if you will, and then the predators too. We need the predators. Sometimes we don't need as many of them as what we have, and all those kind of things. So just take kind of a common sense approach to different things.
That's right. We're about out of time, but Larry, I've read, and maybe you could shed some light, but say out in West Texas, there's a lot of gray fox out there, a bunch. There always has been, but there are hardly zero coyotes out there in the goat and sheep country, and a lot of that.
Right.
Say out around Slacker County, El Dorado, Menard.
Yes.
They hammer those coyotes. But the truth is, where there's one canine, say it's fox, you're not going to find a whole bunch of fox in an area with a whole bunch of coyotes. And I've read that you're not going to find a ton of coyotes some places where there's a heavy wolf population. So I guess one of them will dominate, right, in a certain area.
Exactly. There's one major predator in those areas, and sometimes it's like a pendulum swinging kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You can have too many coyotes, and if you have too many coyotes where there are foxes, they're not going to be foxes, because, among other things, they'll outcompete them because they're faster, they're bigger, kind of thing, and there are even some authenticated records showing of coyotes eating foxes when they encounter them, kind of thing. So generally, if you have a whole lot of fox, there's not a whole lot of coyotes.
Right.
And if you have a whole lot of coyotes, you generally don't see a whole lot of fox.
Interesting. Well, I've enjoyed our visit, and I've learned a thing or two, and I bet hopefully our guests enjoyed our weekly conversation, and maybe they picked up a tip or two. Larry, we're going to be right back with everyone this time next week. I'm already looking forward to our next visit.
I hate to put this campfire out, but you're right. We need to. We got another adventure we need to go take care of, and we'll see everybody back here next week.
Well, friends, Mr. Larry Weissoon is going to tell you about the finest hunting optics that we have ever found.
Look, these are called Stealth Vision. They come from Crockett, Texas. Dr. John McCall developed them. They're 34 millimeter tubes as opposed to the narrower tubes, so more light transmission. They have a little green light that comes on when that scope is leveled, because that's when you want to pull the trigger. They have an optional lighted reticle as well too, and a whole lot of other products. And folks can learn more about them by going to stealthvision.com.
Folks, I want to introduce you to VINEYARDMAX. Now, this is an awesome deer attractant, a food attractant that's made with hammer-milled grape skin, dried hammer-milled grape skins. It has a mixture of rice bran and also corn chops. Very effective. Deer can smell the scent of grapes from a long way, and it brings them in. I've used it in West Texas out with Larry Weissoon, and we were out there where deer are not even exposed to grapes, and they came right in. Also, VINEYARDMAX has a very good line of game and fish feeders. Check them out online, vineyardmax.net. Friends, I want to tell you about an awesome camping destination, Wind Point Park on Lake Tawakoni. It's over on the far east side, kind of the northeast side of the lake. It's a pristine park. You can go there and view, I think they estimated a couple of hundred deer on that couple of hundred acres there. Cabins, beautiful RV park, fishing piers, docks. It's got everything you'd want in an outdoor destination. Check them out online at windpointparktx.com. Folks, this segment is made possible by Smokin Tex electric smokers that I've been using a long, long time, CatfishPro catfishing baits and catfish supplies, Ultrimatic Feeders, and AGM Global Vision, maker of the spotters and thermal scopes that I hunt with. Well, friends, our next guest is Mr. Shane Davies. Now, Shane's been a guest many, many times on our show, and Shane makes his living taking people fishing and camping on rivers. The Devil's River, the Brazos right now is perfect, and a lot of fish in the Brazos River, but thought it'd be fun to get Shane on with us and talk some river fishing and catching. Shane, thank you, buddy, for spending some time with us.
Absolutely. Good morning, Luke.
Good morning, sir.
Always a pleasure. Love talking river fishing with you.
Yeah,
and,
we always
Texas has some great rivers. It's a pleasure to be able to host folks and camp and fish and enjoy the wonder that is our Texas rivers.
I always make it a point to mention that I've done just a smidgen of guiding for out west, and I've done enough guiding to know what a challenge it can be, and also how much pleasure it can be too. But someone that can load people in kayaks or whatever and float miles and miles in Wilderness River and honestly step up to the plate and be in charge, because you are. My hat's off to you, buddy. That you made a career out of doing this, not just going out fishing to a lake and fish, come back into the dock in 3 hours. You've made a living out of spending days at a time out, haven't you?
Yes, sir. I've made it about as complicated as I think I can make it. But I enjoy it, and there is a lot of details and logistics and everything. But it, like any adventure, and this, it just takes a lot of it is in the logistics and the details. Yeah. And then, of course, when the rubber hits the road, it's on another level. But you forget something out there, in the middle of a 5-day trip in the wilderness of that country river like the Devils or the Pecos. There's no running to the store or Walmart or anything like that. It's you got to be very self-sufficient. So it's beautiful, and as long as you're prepared. I always tell people, statistically, you are probably in more danger just driving there than you'll ever actually be on the river. Yeah. Once you make it to the river, everything's great. I keep it a very controlled environment, and it's as controlled as it can be and wild at the same time. Yeah, yeah. And show folks a great time. And the smallmouth and largemouth fishing has been great. Yeah. And then I come back, and we got here to North Texas, and man, I look at my home river, the Brazos, the middle and upper Brazos, and it's been basically had tens of thousands of cubic feet of water being released from the dam, the various dams along the the basin there, the middle and upper basin. So now they're just getting back down to normal. And man, is there a lot of migratory fish that just weren't there before.
Oh, well,
My hands are a little cramped from cleaning fish, blue cats and stripers this week. And those fish just weren't there, and they're just loaded, and they stayed with their food source. Lots and lots and lots of shad in the river. They're gizzard of all sizes.
So Shane, now's a good time to book a trip with you on the Brazos, and
absolutely,
and blue cats and striper. Oh, I bet you guys are, knowing you're probably eating, maybe occasionally eat a fish on these extended 2 or 3 day trips in the evening. Maybe some striper.
Absolutely,
yeah.
I'd say our first night. I've already got them brined, prepared, and ready to go. I've got a couple nice steaks off about a 12-pounder.
Yep.
And we'll be doing those. I'll be grilling those over the fire on our Monday night meal on our 3-day Brazos trip first night. So I'm excited about that. A little garlic, lemon, and it doesn't take much, and a little salt, a little pepper, and it's amazing.
Maybe a little
fine eating.
I'm an old outdoor cook, you know that. Most people who listen to this show know that I usually devote a segment to cooking, outdoor cooking. But say you've got the 2 fillets from are we talking like a blue cat, fillets?
Striper. These would be striper.
Okay. Oh, so boy. Yeah. You'll clean the red meat off. You'll clean it up good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and then you'll grill it, right?
Yes, they've already been brined. I've got the fillets. I've already brined them. They're going to be in about 6 by 2-inch steaks.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do that over fire, and just it's simple. It's just butter, garlic, lemon, like I said, and then just salt and pepper to taste. Maybe put a little. I like it. Sometimes I'll tell you one thing I really do like with the striper is I do like using the there's its
Tony's maybe
East crab. Yeah, Tony Chacarese is good too. But the Old Bay.
Old Bay, you bet.
Just sprinkle a little bit Old Bay or Tony Chacarese on there, and that's always a winner. You can't do anything wrong. It's just such a versatile, good eating.
Clean. That striper. I love striper. Well, so okay, people that might want to go a trip. Let's. All my whole career as an outdoor writer and our radio and our TV show we do with Larry Weissoon and Jeff is all about. Yeah, I can go have fun, and I do. I get to do a lot of fun things, but I want other people to know how to do it, how to hook up with guys like you, Shane. So the trips now, would they be below Possum Kingdom on the Brazos, that stretch, or would they be farther, down?
It would be. Here's the good news: is I stay on top of all the water flows, and of course you're talking about 3 different dams in between the middle and upper Brazos, and I've got different public and private access. So really, what I'm doing is my customers, they understand that I'm always looking for the best bite possible. So I'm going to tell them what I got available. That's up to them. But basically, we'll be somewhere between about 10 miles north of Waco on the Brazos to all the way up to we don't go much past Possum Kingdom Lake. So somewhere in that area, along in there. So, there's lots of different stretches. I can break it up like a 2-night, 3-day trip. That's a good put in private, take out private, a 12-mile trip. Just really nice and laid back. For 3 days on the Brazos and just moving along, casting for bass, and right now and then we can do the live shad trips for the stripers and the blue cats, further upriver, on the upper Brazos stretch there between, Possum Kingdom Lake and 180. There's a lot. There's just, like I said, it's just full of them right now. So I got a lot to offer. Lots of. It's really whatever a customer wants. I'll let them know what I got, and I'm always going to get them on the best bite I have.
You bet. What you always have, and you always will. I know that. So if you want to catch blue cat, let's concentrate on catfishing too. I've got an idea what you're going to be doing, but say somebody just wants to catch a bunch of catfish. It's hard to pass up the stripers too, but you've got 2 options there. But king on the catfish, would you use cut bait or cut shad or how?
Here's what we had our best results on, and this is a nice thing. The areas that we're fishing, these are areas you got to remember. These were tens of thousands of cubic feet per second of water, and now they've gone down to 125 cubic. So all these fish are in here with all this bait. and we're getting I like using live shad. It's easy.
Oh boy,
they're easy for me to gather. And
yeah.
I can keep. We're probably going through 200 baits a trip right now. I can keep those alive in a custom tank that I have, and a squareback canoe. It's actually pretty cool. But anyway, and so we get these fish are just they're holed up, and I mean you can literally know. I mean they're within. I mean it's just it was amazing action. But there's everything in there, Luke. There's drum. There's white bass, there's hybrid. We've got a hybrid that's 12 pounds.
Oh
You're
boy.
gonna catch stripers, but you're using a 4-inch long gizzard shad, just nose hooked on a slip bait, and 1 ounce slip bait, soaking that on the bottom. There's a lot of things that can back that up. And we caught largemouth, we caught smallmouth, it was crazy. Everything was in there.
So one hole, you're fishing a packed hole that's packed with all kind of fish.
The higher the sun gets in the sky, the more cram they get in there, and that's just going to get better as the summer goes. Like I said, we're fortunate to have all this water move through, and these are just migratory fish that have come over the gates and from downriver, and they just simply weren't there before. And the stripers I cleaned this week, Luke, the males had milk sacks and the females had a green roe sack. Maybe a pound. A 12-pound fish would have a pound of sack, solid green, and a hybrid I cleaned had orange roe sack. Of course, they're sterile fish, but they'll still go through the motions on it.
Yeah.
And, those fish came from probably Granbury and been moving upriver to spawn. And I have no doubt, as long as with those gates being down for a month and that stretch below PK, I have no doubt that there was a successful spawn. That the stripers spawned.
Yeah. Well, Shane, let's walk our friends through. Just say a typical day. Of course, you've got all the camping gear, the tents and everything that's needed.
Yes, sir.
You'll get up, and then how would a morning start off? Just to say.
I'll get everybody coffeeed up. I'll have coffee ready. If it's allowed and it's appropriate, I'll have a campfire. That's not always. Depending on what's going on from county to county and what our needs are. I usually won't do I'd like to do a Choctaw. I use farm fresh eggs. That's what I bring on the trips. And then I'll do like a sausage, egg, and cheese. Tacos, and do that in the morning. That kind of gets everything going. I don't have to cook that over a fire. I just do that on a stove. And so I'll do that. And if everybody gets as many as they want, and if they want one to go to take on the river, I'll wrap it in foil. They can have it later in the morning. So that's typical. And that'll usually be served with a couple different hot sauces. Capio hot sauce, or I have some pico with it. And and then we just break camp, and I usually like to involve everybody in the camp make and break process. Everybody likes a little something to do. So exactly. And then we're on the river fairly quickly. I'm usually up doing coffee. I start filtering water and doing coffee about 5:30 in the morning, and then everybody's up at 6, and we're out of there by 8. And on the river and doing our thing, fishing and floating and paddling our way down to the next night's camp. And we'll have a lunch along the way, usually some sort of a charcuterie board, smoked fish, smoked meats, crackers, pieces, Gouda,
something,
jack, pepper jack, usually some fresh fruits. Always like to have some tangerine. We like to do carrots with dipped in ranch, things like that. And I'll usually have some sort of a pecan sandies or something like that, something sweet.
Little snack there, you bet. Well, I'll tell you what, if the next time I can get loose and you have a spot, I'm going to be with you, man. That's just floating down a river, my gosh. And then the fishing, the Brazos River now stocked with all that bait and all those different blue cats and the stripers, and you've got the best bait in the world. Live shad will catch anything in the river. So, Shane,
it's crazy. It's true.
It is. River Run Guide Service, I think, is the official name. River Run Guide Service. They could check you out, I guess, on Facebook. I'd like you to tell people how to get a hold of Shane Davies and go fish in a river with you, buddy.
Absolutely. Well, I know not everybody does social media, and I got a lot of respect for that. If I didn't need to have a business representation there, I probably wouldn't either. But anyway, besides that, really the best way to reach me would be to call or text me, and I'll be happy to return or answer, depending if I'm with a customer or my availability. I'll get back to you as quick as I can. But that phone number is 214-418-9786.
Okay, we're going to leave that number again just in a second here, Shane. But yeah, they can call, leave a message on your phone, or text you or whatever. And I know people are driving down the road. One thing, if you ever, any of our guests, they're all friends of mine mostly, and sometimes we have, of course, new people on, but I know how to contact these folks. So you remember catfishradio.org. A lot of you do, and you can email me through that, and I'll help you any way I can. But let's have the number one more time. We've got time to do that, Shane.
Absolutely. 214-418-9786.
Shane, thank you so much, buddy, for sharing some fishing information, and you keep catching them. I think the stage is set for some awesome fishing the next maybe all summer,
I absolutely agree.
Folks, I want to tell you about an awesome destination for camping, just a getaway place, some very good fishing up on the upper end of Lake Livingston. It's River Rat Resort. You can go online to riverratresort.com. Check it all out. It's an awesome website there, but there's RV sites for RVs. There's tent camping right on the river, cabins there. It is a beautiful park. And I fished down in that area for many, many years. I probably first started fishing there 30 years ago. But you can fish the river. Lake Livingston is a well-known fishing lake. If you don't like to fish, which I bet you do, but if you don't, it's a great place just to get away from the hustle bustle of the big city. You can call 936-277-5495. That's 936-277-5495 and make reservations. But first, go online there to riverratresort.com. Check it out. I want to tell you about a one-stop shop for everything related to game feeders and fish feeders, Ultrimatic Feeders. I've been using components and feeders from Ultrimatic Feeders for 20-something years, I guess. They have the remote, which you can remotely activate your feeder with, the timer, which is the most simple timer that I've ever found on a game feeder. And then the eliminator. Check these out. They are worked on centrifugal force, and they seal off the corn supply so coons and squirrels can't get to the corn. Check them out. Ultrimatic Feeders, you could go online to ultrimaticfeeders.com. Folks, let's talk a little outdoor cooking. Let me tell you about an electric smoker that I've been using for 15 years, I guess. Smokin Tex electric smokers. If you're tired of staying up all night keeping that wood fire burning when you're barbecuing, give Smokin Tex a try. They're made to last a lifetime. You can check them out at smokintex.com. That's SMOKINTEX.com. For seasonings, anything to do with outdoor cooking, all kind of jerky seasonings, sausage seasonings, Butcher Packer Supply. That's butcherpackersupply.com. I think the website is butcher-packer.com. Friends, this segment is made possible by Platinum Cadillac and Chevrolet in Terrell, Texas. Stop by and visit with my buddy, Mr. Justin Rudd, and his team of experts, and let them put you in a new Chevy pickup or a Cadillac or whatever you might be in the market for. Also, the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma. Check them out at ChoctawHuntingLodge.com. Also made possible by Pyramyd Air, your one-stop shop for everything airgun related. Well, friends, our next guest is a longtime buddy, hunting and fishing buddy of mine, Kenneth Talent. Kenneth's had TV shows for years, and he's just an all-around good guy, but he's also one heck of an outdoor person. Kenneth, thank you, buddy, for being with us.
No, we thank you, Luke, for having us.
Yes, sir. So paddlefish. That's our topic of this segment, is paddlefish. And this is a topic that I know a little bit about. I've never even hooked one, but I've been there when they were accidentally hooked. But, you're up in northern Oklahoma, and you just got off of a fun paddlefish trip, right?
Yeah, yes, we did. Yep, we're right up here on the northern Oklahoma and Missouri border on the Grand River with Brian Baker.
Brian Baker, yes, sir.
Yes, and he's been, I guess, he's cut his teeth on paddle fishing up here and a little bit of everything else. Hell of a guy.
Yeah.
Great fisherman.
Yes, sir. Well, tell us about, you've just done it firsthand. Paddlefish, they won't take a lure, I understand. You don't fish with them with live bait, do you? You snag them, right? It's about the only way you can catch one, I think. Yeah?
Yeah. They said, that they troll for them or they live scope them.
Mm-hmm.
And live scoping right now is going on because the rivers are running a little hard, so it's a little tough right now. And but we got on the water this morning. We got out wherever we was going, he said, and all of a sudden he turned that live scope on, and I looked down, and I mean, you can just see them. They have a pretty good size screen, like probably about a 10 or 12 inch screen on the front of the boat.
Yeah.
And it was like watching TV.
Well, that's I fish with live scopes for crappie, and I've even fished with guides using them for white bass, and but we're not talking about dropping a little tiny jig down in front of a pound crappie there. You're talking about so then you've got to have some pretty heavy duty gear, because I foul hook a 5-pound striper that's not hooked in the mouth, and you think you've caught a whale. I mean, I can only imagine one of those big paddlefish hooks, say, on the top of the back or something. I bet they do pull, don't they?
Yeah, they did. They pulled. I videoed the second one, and the one that we caught two, me and a friend of mine. And but I'm telling you, they will fight now, because we hooked them in the side, because you're trolling for them there, and you scope with that live scope, and then you just throw over them, and then you just bring it back across them and you snag them.
Yes.
And so they will fight.
Yeah, boy. Do you have a pretty heavy weight on the end of it there on your?
Yes. He did tell us what weight that was.
Yeah.
And we were fishing about 20 feet deep. And it was I forgot how many ounce of weight. It was a big weight and a big treble hook.
Yep.
And and a heavy line, because I'm telling you, when he snagged it, and he said, here, let's go, and I mean, the pole went in the water,
Oh man. Well, you got some pretty heavy, a pretty stout rod, like you'd use for big catfish, I'm sure.
Yes. Yes.
And a good probably a level wine reel, like a bait with a strong reel. You'd need that. Kenneth, in the Red River, up where you're at is the hot spot for paddlefish up in Oklahoma. I mean, I know I've interviewed guides. I've never fished up there for them, but in the Red River, I've encountered paddlefish in the Red River, not in the numbers, that there are up there.
Yeah.
But I've also heard, I've always wanted to grill some paddlefish, on a kind of like you would grill, redfish or something, put a butter and lemon and Cajun seasoning on them. And I've heard that now I like black-tip shark. I used to go down there just for those, 15 to 20 pound blacktips, and I love to grill those. But I've heard paddlefish are even better. Were you able to take any of the meat back?
Yes, we've got two big bags of it, and I'm telling you right now, Luke, if you want to do all that, I'll have you some at your house, and you can grill it, and then you can talk about it.
Yeah, let's try it. And what we could do is plan it during the day. I've got that little old cabin out there. You've seen it behind my house, within stone's throw. I've got all kind of outdoor cooking gear. Yeah, we'll take it, and why wouldn't it be good? Put it in a metal pan, and put some Cajun seasoning, some butter, some lemon on it. And I've got one of these Smokin Tex electric smokers. I've used them for years, But we could do it on that, or we could just grill them, one of the two, or both. But I bet that would be. Yeah, let's do that, folks.
No, we will. We definitely will.
Our folks that listen to us now from all over radio stations, and a lot of folks listen to us now after the radio stations, which I'm so thankful for, all of them running it every week. It becomes a podcast. On iHeart and Apple and all those places. So people, I warn them. I say, look, this is not a structured show. It's not, there's no script. If you listen to Larry Weissoon and Larry and I've been doing this for 18 and a half years every week. It's pretty much freelance, but also, I mean, you can learn some things. Like I dare say, a lot of people listening have never fished for paddlefish. I know I haven't, I know a little bit about them. So if people that want to go, I guess this fella's name, your guide buddy up there, do you think they could track him down, just Google his name? Or
No, I'm telling you, that all they got to do is pull up that Brian Lee Baker right here on Grand Lake. I'm not going to be able to pronounce this little town that we're in.
Yeah.
It's Wapanutta or something.
There's some funny names up there. Yep.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I can actually.
People can Google that name. I'm sure.
Yeah. All they got to Google is Brian Lee Baker here out of Grand River.
And then paddlefish.
For paddle fishing, and I'm telling you,
he'll pop up.
He will pop up. He definitely will.
I've heard of him. Kenneth, for years you did outdoor TV, and folks, a lot of people listening will remember. But that's kind of you've semi-retired from that for the moment. It wouldn't surprise me if you did get another show going. But that ran for years. Your TV show, didn't it?
We run it for 10 years, Luke. Had a blast at it. Traveled, but I'm still hunting. Heck, I just got back from Bulgaria. Yeah. And I was over hunting a bird called a capercaillie.
I've seen pictures of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the bird won. So, but I set it up again for next year. I'm going back to get me a capercaillie next year.
That's cool. You've done some cool things. The last time we were actually hunted, we went down, Larry Weissoon and Jeff and I filmed a deal at your one of your leased ranches out in West Texas. And then you and I go back to North Dakota, back in there. Yeah. I remember I was just after a buck. And you spotted a big old buck, you and your buddy, I forget his name, was with you, but y'all spotted a big one and tried to put a stalk on him up on a mini mountain. But we had lots of fun. We need to plan some stuff to you get with Larry and me and Jeff and do some do some more of our sportsman's life there, our TV show. Get with us, buddy, and we'll do it.
No, well, you ought to try to set you a trip up here, Luke, and come with this Brian guy. Yeah. Boy, I'm telling you, you'd enjoy it and everything else.
Wouldn't that make a good video, of that?
It would make a heck of a video.
For our show. Well, Kenneth, thank you so much, man, for being my buddy all these years, and then also for, telling us about paddlefish. I want to, and don't forget about those paddlefish steaks. I want to. Somehow I can.
No. I'm going to get them to you.
Okay. All right, buddy.
Definitely will. I'll get them to you.
And we're going to talk about how I know they're good, but we're going to talk about them on our show. Thank you a lot, Kenneth, and be safe on the way back from way up there in almost Missouri.
That's it. All right. Thank you, Luke.
For about the past decade, I've been hunting editor for Airgun Hobbyist magazine. I think the only magazine devoted strictly to airgun shooting and hunting in the country. Well, in that length of time, I've learned quite a bit about big bore air guns and smaller calibers too. A spot to go to that if you're interested in air guns, you need to know about Pyramyd Air. The website is PYRAMYD, PyramydAir.com. They have anything and everything you need, from the guns themselves, the big bores or the smaller calibers, to the accessories. Just remember, pyramydair.com, and there's a number when you get on the website if you need to call and talk to somebody. Give them a buzz, and they can fill you in on little details that you might need to know about shooting or hunting with big bore air guns. While you're on the website there, I'd like you to check out the big bore air gun that I've done a great deal of hunting with. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw, 50 caliber, pressures up to 3,000 psi, and it looks like a conventional rifle. Wooden stock. I think you'll like the appearance, and I know you'll like the performance. It shoots not only bullets, but also air bolts as well, tipped with a broadhead. Check it out. It's the Seneca Dragon Claw.
The snowflakes fall as winter comes, and time just seems to fly.
Friends, this segment is brought to us by CVA Muzzleloaders. In my opinion, the very best muzzleloaders in the world, the ones that I shoot. You can check them out online, CVA.com. AGM Global Vision, maker of the Rattler and the Adder that I use, you can check them out online too, agmglobalvision.com. Kuby's Wild Game Processing and Kuby's Restaurant in Dallas, and VINEYARDMAX, maker of some awesome deer attractant and some very fine game feeders and fish feeders, located down in Nacogdoches, Texas. Check them out at vineyardmax.net. Well, friends, I just got back. Well, actually, it's been about 3 days ago from a trip with Bill Carey, Striper Express, not on Lake Texoma. Lake Texoma at that point was pretty muddy. I want to tell you a story. Bill is standing by. First off, Bill, good morning, sir, and thank you for being with us.
Well, good morning, Luke, and all y'all out in radio land.
Had a great time fishing with you recently, and I want to kind of paint the picture of how all that day went down. You know, Larry Weissoon, Mr. Whitetail, our buddy, came up from Brenham, where he lives. Jeff Rice, that our other great friend that puts together our Carbon TV, the digital TV thing, A Sportsman's Life. He builds our weekly radio, our TV show. And so they came up. We spent the night at Jeff's place. And I've already told you this, Bill, but we fished a creek with some, actually we were just using pork liver from a wild hog, I might add. anyway, we caught about 9 or 10 good eater-sized channel catfish out of the creek. I blackened those that night. We had a wonderful, quiet, peaceful evening out there in the woods at Jeff's place near Lake Fork. Then we had already premeditated a fishing trip with Chris, your son, and you, Striper Express, of course, folks. We had a May topwater plan for months, and then the flood came. I mean, it is what it is. And I think you said fishermen will fish. Is that what you said?
That's right.
Okay. Well, so obviously topwater bite at Striper Texoma was nil. They couldn't even, that wasn't going to happen. So they had another, Chris and Bill had a spot, and he said, well, there's some hybrids at this other place, another lake, and some sand bass, a lot of sand bass. So anyway, that's what we did. We shifted gears, and we had an absolute ball, and actually connected with about, 5 or 6 hybrids. I think I caught one that weighed, if I'm not mistaken, about 23 inches long, and what I call good eating hybrid stripers, Bill.
You bet.
Yes, sir. Now, a striper I love stripers, but I don't know, those hybrid stripers, they're thick, and you were asking me, I think you were afraid I'd used up all my blackening material the night before. You said you had the stuff to fry fish. You had a backup plan, no doubt. But you said, did y'all blacken last night? And I said, I did, but I've got enough butter, lemon, and blackening seasoning to do it. So that's what we did. We had an absolute ball using slabs, which I love to use, and then describe those other baits that the hybrids really went for, Bill.
Those were, on our lake, we used bass tackle with heavier jig heads. But what we did is we used 1/4 ounce, 3/8, and I was throwing a 1/2 ounce in that wind soft plastics, a little fluke, about a 3-inch tail, just to try that. And it worked. The wind got us, but what we did get was fun, and we caught some hybrids, and the sand bass were hitting the slabs.
They were. Yep. And it really, it's one of those days. There was a period, with just a lot of heavy cloud cover on the ground almost, and it was one of those days. It never rained hard, but it rained enough that those storms would be away from us, but that low pressure would suck down in there and kick the wind up. But we had one heck of a good time catching those, and for some reason those little swim baits, those jigs, that's what all the hybrids I think were caught on. I believe right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, and that's a good change, folks, because why don't I tell them what a hybrid is if they're not sure?
Yeah.
The hybrid is a laboratory procured cross between a sand bass and a striped bass. Yep. And once you cross the Kansas line going north, they call them wipers.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Wipers, white, striper. But they're hybrid stripers, and they'll put up a fight. They'll get up to about 20 pounds, I think is the record. And stripers get bigger. But these old hybrids will fight pound for pound as hard as anything I've ever caught.
They will, Bill. They will. And when they hit, say you're out there catching white bass, sand bass, and when one of those hybrids nails it, and these weren't, I've caught hybrids. The biggest one I ever caught was a 13.5 pounder in 88, back in 88. But, people catch 9 to 10, 11 pounders pretty regular. But these weren't giant. I mean, a 23-incher, I don't know. He's a good-sized fish, but he's not a giant. But that thing, when they hit, they'll often pull drag right immediately. And, a hybrid, I don't know why they do this, but they'll fight you hard down deep. And then when they come up, they'll usually make one more strong run. That's what I found. And then it's done. Then they're going to be pulling, but you can get them in the net after that. But they are and as far as a food fish, I mean, you get a cast iron skillet. Bill, how about we tell them how we blacken fish?
Oh, mercy. Folks, listen to this one.
Yeah,
it's a good one.
It's a different program. And I started doing, I'm sure many people do it like this, but I've started doing this up in Saskatchewan on walleye and pike fillets. But I'll get the skillet, Paul Prudhomme that invented blackened redfish, his program was get that skillet white hot, I mean, as hot as you can get it, and slap that, season one side of a fillet, slap that seasoned side down, and it creates smoke, and it's burning that fish pretty hard, and then do the other side. Then what do you do with that fillet? You pour lemon butter over it. That's what you do.
Right.
Otherwise, it would just be a very dry piece of fish. So,
very dry. Yep.
So I thought, why not use I don't care if it's salted or unsalted, but real butter. Put about half a stick of butter in the skillet, and don't heat it to where it would be white hot. I'd say the same way you would fry fish, just kind of a high flame, but not blowtorch type. Get it hot. And get your butter where it's beginning to bubble. It's where it's hot, and then season that one side of that fillet. Put it down in that butter. Here's another thing, Bill. You and I have been kicking around the outdoors so long. We look at little fine. I do. I always learn something. Let me tell you something that I learned when we were cooking these hybrids. This is kind of unique. Where we set that burner up was your birds are talking today. The crow's gone. I think I hear some mockingbirds.
He may show up.
Anyway, so this just happened, Chance. It just happened. You and Jeff set that burner up on a little bit of a slope. There's no other way to have done it because it was the ground was sloping a little bit. So I got this 14-inch skillet that I've had all over the place cooking. I had it with me. So I thought, oh, my God, this is not level. What am I going to do? I even thought about leveling it up. I said, no, we're going to try it. Listen to this. that butter would run down to the lower half of that skillet because of the slope of the ground, right?
Yes, sir.
And then I would take that, and then part of the skillet was almost dry. I would flip that fillet over and char it and flip it, and then turn that skillet 180. From now on, people are going to think I've lost it. But I'm going to say, wait a minute, no, you're cooking on level ground. We can't do this. We need a slope, you know. But, no, that worked, didn't it, really, you know?
It did. I like the way that when so, folks, he's got a little bit of slant. His butter's in one side of the skillet, and it's dry on the other side. And after he'd get it going real good and cooking, and when he'd flip it, he'd put it on the dry side, and that would, what am I trying to say, crisp it up?
Yeah, crisp it up. I'd just turn that skillet 180, you know, turn it, and then the side that was holding the butter would be high and dry. Yeah. Anyway, there's a Bill. Where else are people going to get these kind of tips? I don't know, folks, if anybody even thinks about the stuff that we do. You know.
I'll tell you what, folks. You know, I call Luke Camp Cook Clayton, and this blackened fish recipe is my favorite. I'm telling you, it is so good. I explained it to Larry and Mr. Whitetail yesterday. I said, you know, when you have a good meal and you sit down and it's really good for the first 3 or 4 bites, and by the end of it, it's just a good meal. I told Luke here about a year ago. I said, Luke, I did some of that blackened fish, and it was good to the last bite, and it tasted like lobster. I'm not joking, folks.
You've started doing that a year or so ago, like that.
Oh man, folks, you can do this in the house. Yep. It's not like frying fish where you got to do it outside. Oh man,
it's no smoke involved.
No,
you know,
one skillet is so good.
It's a good deal. Well, Bill, back to Lake Texoma. Here we are at the end of May. In a few weeks, the lake has progressively been dropping and getting back to normal. But in a matter, people do need to, like to striper fish with you, Striper Express. They need to be thinking ahead. It's gonna a matter of weeks. Who knows? But it's not going to be long. And Texoma's going to be the sediments are going to be down, and the stripers are going to be back on. I know, but who knows exactly when? But this summer, in a matter of, I don't know, a few weeks, right?
Yeah, we'll be back in the saddle.
Yeah,
You're rocking.
Yep. Okay. Well, let's see. StriperExpress.com, folks. Just you can give Bill a call. How about leaving a phone number if they want to call and talk to Bill Carey?
Sure, folks. You can call us at 903-786-4477. That is 903-786-4477.
Thank you, Bill. And who knows, we may sneak back off and catch some more of those hybrids. It's just that blackening was so good, it may beckon us back. Folks, that about wraps our show up for this week. I've enjoyed being with you, and I hope you've had a good time, too. And, folks, we're also brought to you by the Choctaw Hunting Lodge up in southeast Oklahoma, located about, 45 minutes west of Hugo, Oklahoma, owned by the Choctaw Nation. It's about 45,000 acres of awesome mountain, country, hills, valleys, loaded with game. Lots of eastern turkey, and they do eastern turkey hunts if you're looking for a spot to hunt turkey in the spring. Also, I want to remind you about the Seneca 50 caliber Dragon Claw that shoots bullets and pellets. And by pellets, I'm talking about 200 and 210 grain lead, chunks of lead. It's a big bore air gun that I use. Check out the Seneca Dragon Claw there at PyramydAir.com.